Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast once again, where I am joined by Mr. Lawrence Gowan. He has spent the past 24 years as the new guy in classic rock band Styx. That's changed, though, no longer the new guy. He has had a very successful solo career in his native Canada for more than 4 decades, amassing Juno Award nominations and a couple of wins. And most importantly, probably, he has made epic appearances on the great animated juggernaut known as Chili Beach. Lawrence and Styx are on the road so much, it's hard to tell when one leg of the tour begins and the other ends. So look for them in your town as they continue to support their latest record, Crash of the Crown, which is just an amazing record. The more I listen to it, the more I love it. Mr. Lawrence Gowan, welcome. It's always great to have you, sir.
Man, that was a great introduction. That's all our time, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, that's a long career I got to fit in that little space.
I'm glad you did. Yes. And yeah, it is. I do like saying it. I have now entered into my 25th year as a member of Styx. So 1/4 of a century I have been with a band that's been around for over half a century.
It's crazy.
So yes, I'm glad that you brought that up.
And it's your first year as, well, I don't want to say the old guy, but you're not the new guy.
I'm the old new guy.
Yeah, you're the second new guy now. Will Evankovich, of course, the new guy now. What a great addition. It's great to have Will on the road with you, in the studio with you. Just a huge part of the Styx machine now, isn't he?
Yes, he is. When you look at the history of this band, I think that I like to think, and it's been my observation in my time in the band, that whenever a new member was required to extend the life of the band, they always seem to have made it really, I'll let people make up their own mind in my case, but in the other cases I've observed, they've made excellent choices, and so Will is, of course, a very excellent choice because the timing was perfect, where he came along right as we were, the music industry was starting to kind of right the ship, so to speak, as far as how they would deal with the internet and how a band with a legacy such as Styx could be properly promoted, and how so much of the live performance was so central to our existence. But we wanted to make new music, and so at first Will was kind of an outside producer, musician, co-writer, and then it just seemed more and more, as because those records were successful. Crash of the Crown, we're still elated about it, and we'd like to mention the fact that it did get to #1 on Billboard's a rock album chart. That's pretty amazing for a band that's been around for half a century. I think it was very timely that he came into the band, much the same way as when Tommy came into the band or when Ricky Phillips came into the band.
Yep.
And of course Todd Sucherman when he came in.
Yeah,
doors off.
It's nobody would ever argue that. The choices for this band has made have been tremendous in the entire history. It's pretty amazing. And like you say, after 50 years or so, we're, still landing #1 albums. And it's, I'm a huge Wooden Nickel all the way back. The first record I heard was Man of Miracles, and it still lives with me today. But this record, Crash of the Crown, man, is it's tops in the catalog. It's amazing.
Yeah, I really like it a lot.
Yeah, man.
I was really pleased when I heard the mixes of that record. Particularly, I thought that everything was framed really, really well. And to my ear, or to my opinion, in my opinion, which is entirely unbiased, by the way, I liked the fact that what we were aiming for, which was, in both these records, The Mission and Crash of the Crown, were to make albums that albums is important part of that equation, that could stand alongside the classic material of Styx from the 70s and not be a jarring bump in the sound or in the intention at least, or in the spirit of the band more than anything else.
Right.
Because yes, when you have different individuals, the challenges are many, you know, because you want to kind of retain whatever it is about the spirit of a band. I think has in our case anyway. To my mind, it's been well retained with these last two albums that seem to kind of all pretty seamlessly tied to their earlier stuff. And Tommy's sending me messages right now. Yeah. So I wish I knew how to turn off notifications, and I don't. But anyway,
Well, you don't want to turn off the
he says hello.
notifications.
He's like 3 rooms down the hall, but he says hello.
Ah, great. Tell him I said hello as well.
God says hi.
Yeah, you're on tour. You're in Albany, New York. You know,
Yeah.
as I said, every time I talk to you, every time you talk to anybody, you're in a hotel room.
Yeah.
And that's life in Styx. That's the life of Lawrence Gowan, has been for many, many years now.
Yep.
Has it gotten better? Has it gotten easier? Has it gotten, more complicated as you get older? How's
Well,
it?
quite honestly, I get if I were to make any comment on that, I'd say it's gotten easier because, you know, in some respects. Okay, so the tour buses, for example, are fantastic modes of transportation for a band to get across a continent, and they're very comfortable. You know, I sleep better on a tour bus than anywhere else in the world, even better in that bed than
Uh,
that bed there. Yeah, and generally speaking, and it's all centered around what happens at 8 o'clock, or unless it's a 7 o'clock show. You know what's going to make you, not get in the way of that. You know what's going to enhance that crescendo that goes toward that time of day. And another thing, as I showed you before we came on the air, I've always got my piano handy, to that's not that's not something that I ever had in hotel rooms in the past. So that's another great aspect of touring
yeah.
is, I have the tools at hand that I feel that I need to keep musically focused throughout the day.
That's cool. It's cool. And I mean, you guys are so active. It's a workout, the show itself. I mean, what does your regimen look like in keeping in shape? I mean, are you a gym rat type of guy? Or, I know
No,
Tommy
I
goes
was.
biking a lot and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. What do the meals look like? Do you eat
sure.
really light, stay light? Is that all part of the touring aspect?
We don't eat light enough. By
None
the
of
way,
us do.
we don't eat light enough, but the shows are so high energy that we have an opportunity to burn it off. There's always little things from traveling on the road. There's always some little, my shoulder's weird or your back. There's always some little thing, and
Yeah.
yet the magic that happens when we start a show is there's adrenaline and just a sense of, it's a band where no one wants to be the one that lets everyone down. You really want this to be everything that the audience is anticipating. And it's very rare to be in a band where everyone really gets that, and everyone, talk about suiting up, and look, life, as JY has said, sometimes life intrudes on rock and roll. That's what he says. So
Yeah.
there are challenges that come with playing over 100, playing 100 shows a year. I'm saying over 100 because I do about
Right.
15 to 20 solo shows as well. And life does get in the way sometimes. There are, events that are not always, that everyone has to face. But there's something about music and the interaction and the exchange of with the language of it with an audience that that lifts you in a way that nothing else I've ever come across can.
Yeah, that's a special thing, man. And we feel it, I mean, I've seen you almost 50 something times probably now. Uh,
Wow.
and it's flawless every time. And that, obviously, that's what keeps people coming back to. You guys care about the performance, and it's a special thing.
Whenever you come to the show, Scott, you seem to bring younger and younger people all the time. It's like, and then I find out this is your extended family going into the future.
Yep. Yep. I got nieces, nephews, along with my kid. My kids aren't young
Every time,
anymore,
it's like, wow. No, come on, you bring a section and another generation.
it's great. And that's special. This
Oh,
is
absolutely.
one of those few bands that can do that. It's
Yeah, and that's been of my time in the band. That's been maybe the most joyous thing to witness from the stage. Is somewhere around 2009, 2010. You started to see younger and younger people coming to the shows, unaccompanied by older siblings or parents or grandparents, but just had discovered classic rock, wanted to see Styx, sees what a level of a show this band can put on, and they become just as enamored with it and devoted to it as people that grew up with it.
yeah, yeah,
They're
no
growing,
doubt.
they're growing. What am I saying? They are actually growing up with it in the present day. And
Right.
I would say that they would, in large part, are responsible for the success of our last two albums because
Yeah.
they're more hungry for things that are concurrent with their lives that they can plug into the soundtrack of their lives, much the same as someone as yourself or myself who grew up with these songs and has them from a youth standpoint to something
Right.
that's been with us for decades. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the 16-year-old is streaming the stuff probably more than the 60-year-old.
Yes,
So,
that's correct.
and that's a big part of it nowadays.
Yeah,
So,
they're both
yeah.
streaming. They're both streaming. The younger one's probably streaming from the internet, and the older one has probably got it like on an iPod or something while they're fishing from the stream.
There you
That was
go.
a great joke. I don't care if you're not laughing out there. It's just because you obviously something wrong with your speakers.
I love it. Any surprises to the set list? No, we got a few more songs in the catalog. And I always, you guys put together a set list that is deep.
Yeah,
Uh, Man in the Wilderness, maybe my favorite Styx song.
yeah,
It's in the set list all the
that's great.
time, and it ain't going anywhere, I don't think. So, uh, it's a special thing for the deep Styx fan.
Yeah,
And
I know.
there's got to be discussion, because you see people talk, and why don't they do the best of times? Now there's got to be a discussion. Tommy's got to think about that.
Yep.
JY's got, there's got to be. Do we throw that in? You know, so what's that like? When you go
So
out with the set list.
I'll tell you what it's like for me. In the first 5 years that I was in the band, I got right in there in the scrum before every show of trying to figure out what to play. And then one day, JY made a comment that made me laugh. He just said, it's really hard. We've got an embarrassment of riches.
Yes.
It's the great songs to play.
Yep.
What a lovely problem to have.
It sure is.
And I came into it when they already had that. So I extracted myself from that scrum and decided, I'm just going to go with whatever the menu is on that night. It'll be on my piano, and I'll go out there and I'll play those songs, and it'll be like, oh, look at that. Sweet Madam Blues on the list tonight. Great, we're going to get to play it. Or suddenly I'll see, oh, look, we're doing Crash of the Crown, although we've been doing that every night since the album came out.
Right.
Or Sound the Alarm. There's a great one, also from Crash to the Ground. And that means that Tom's going to bookend that with Crystal Ball. And that's a great moment in the show. And I have come to enjoy that experience. I did put forward, or anytime the notion of bringing Mr. Roboto back was raised, I was always a proponent in favor of that.
Okay.
I really enjoy doing that song. I'm so glad that it finally found its way into the show. It's been with us now probably close to 5 years. It's been in the show.
Wow.
And funny enough, it was the tour where we had Joan Jett on the tour on the bill. that we decided let's do something different. And so, yeah, but really, yeah, there are songs that, best of times, great, but that it always means that something's going to have to go away.
Right.
I love playing Pieces of Eight. I think that's a tremendous piece of music. I love the lyric, the musically. I really like it. I love that it ties to the very first book I ever read, being Treasure Island, and the fact that the parrot would say pieces of eight, pieces of eight. And I love the sentiment of it, quite honestly, or the not sentiment, but the point that it makes. There's a distinction there, actually. It makes an excellent point about over consumerism. Let's call it that. I hear that in it, and so I would hate to sacrifice that one for another one, and yet it'll happen on any given night.
Right.
So these are the kind of, as you call them, deep cuts. Very curious thing, though. Younger people don't hear them as deep cuts because they're not necessarily completely enamored with what was on the radio while they
Right.
were up. We don't rely on radio now. I mean, classic rock radio obviously plays lots of Styx, but people who are let's say under 40, so they weren't born when the biggest records came out in the classic rock era. They tend to have, actually, like yourself, they might say "Man in the Wilderness" is my favorite song, or they might say, they might come up with something like, "Oh no, I really love Miss America," which I don't believe was a single. I don't believe it was, or say "Pieces of Eight," but they like "Pieces of Eight," but they also really like "Radio Silence." They don't make any distinction between that, and that's great.
That. Yeah.
Not to say that they don't explode when Renegade comes on, or "Come Sail Away," or "Grand Blue Collar Man." Those are
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to have that catalog to choose from. That's for sure.
It really
Do you write on the road?
I do.
You do.
I do. It's the only way it can happen. I actually.
Well, yeah, you're never home.
One of these. I make good use of one of these, and quite honestly, when we made these last two records, it was often that I'd refer to this catalog of ideas when, for example, the song "Crash of the Crown." When we were writing that as a three-way co-write between myself, Tommy Shaw, Willie Vankovich, and we're spending a week trying to cobble that song together, and we came to a bit of a halt, and then suddenly I showed them, I found that riff of that little riff in the middle. You hear that?
Mm-hmm. A little bit. It's breaking up a little.
So that suddenly became, we could suddenly change gears there, and that'll go into. Actually, people should see that I'm playing a piano, so they're not just tapping away like a crazy man.
That desk sounds great.
Yeah, amazing. That reminds me, when I first started taking piano lessons, this is a total aside, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to contrast what life was like back in the 1800s. We didn't have a piano at home when I first started taking lessons, and what we had was this is a 5-octave keyboard. You can't see all of them with it, but
okay.
we because we didn't have a piano, they gave you a cardboard cutout of the keys, so it was just a 2-dimensional cartoon.
Wow.
And you'd learn it, and kind of memorize the tapping of it, right? So it would be like, tap it out, and then go to the lesson that week where they had a piano, obviously, and then play it and be, that's what it sounds like.
Wow.
My first couple of years.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've really, when you talk about coming a long way, we really have.
I love it, man.
Sorry, that was a complete aside, but yeah. Those ideas. There are little lyrical snippets, little titles, and the magic of co-writing with others is that you just have no clue what each one of you has a different idea of what's being aimed for, and when the ideas begin to mesh and kind of coalesce, to where they're one is flowing into the other, it's quite elating. Actually, it's an elating experience because you're suddenly like, God, neither one of us could have come up with that on our own, but in combination, it suddenly elevates it to something else. And that's the only way to do that is just have a lot of ideas on hand. So
Well,
that's
and there's great chemistry, and I think that's definitely heard on the record
yeah,
because of the voices too. There's a lot of different styles too, but
yeah.
the voices, there's sharing leads, and the song's different, but they run together, and it's fluid. That's a special chemistry that it's a band.
Yeah, it is very much that. It's very, very much that. There's I mean, especially in light of the fact that there's a couple of songs on the record that are a couple of my favorites that I didn't write on that I get to sing.
I,
And then there are sections that I wrote that Tommy might sing, or there's a section I wrote, well, in Crash the Crown, the whole front of the song. Uh, they had that riff, and then I gave them the melody and the lyrics, but with the intention that JY sing that, because it just is like trying to put something in from his perspective. And so then that wound up giving us three lead vocalists in one song. That's, I think, part of why Crash to the Crown kept coming up and being the one that the people were choosing as an album title, and why it's important in the show
mhm.
is that it changes gears so quickly. JY is the first lead singer, then Tommy, then myself. And Tommy and I kind of trade back and forth a little bit in the center of the song. And you've got these dramatic shifts in tempo and in nothing really happens twice in that song until you've gotten to the end. It's under 4 minutes long, and you've got this kind of progressive rock piece that pulls together all the voices, all of the little nuggets that comprise a cool bit of rock theater. And
Yeah. I was going to say it's progressive. It's
yeah,
the definition of progressive right there.
it's the part of Styx that I was always most drawn to. I love progressive rock, and
Yeah, me
they were
too.
the first I'd ever observed, not from the UK, who were really successful at doing it.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Any chance of seeing the solo? I ask you every time. That solo album's been in the can for
Oh yeah,
six,
it has
7 years now.
every time. Oh God, yeah, easily that. There are other aspects to that as well. I mean, it's you need time to properly promote a new piece,
Sure.
a new album, right? And it was just about beyond halfway done when suddenly the notion came up that we were going to do the mission. Well, that completely takes, your time has to go to one thing or another. You really have to make these choices. Obviously I wanted to have the band have something new and have something, that I know we're going to promote for the next couple of years. Putting a record out is one thing, but things tend to just drift beyond people's attention unless you're out there playing live, making that third part of it. The first part is, what the band's history is. The second part is coming up with new material that's relevant. And then the third part is committing to playing that stuff and making it part of the overall tapestry. I don't want to just put out a solo record and kind of give it 10 days, quick tour across the country and play a few songs solo. Right. And that's the end of it. You need 6 months at least to properly focus your attention on bringing this into the light.
Right. Right. Tell me though, do you have it's in the can with a title, with cover art and all that? Is it that ready to go?
Yeah. Hugh Syme.
Wow.
Hugh Syme did spectacular artwork for
good
it.
Lord.
Yeah. And
so
one day I know he did quite a lot for it. He's been a friend of mine. I'm speaking of Hugh. For example, people will probably know him best for all of the Rush album covers that he did, throughout their career. But beyond that, I've known him. I knew him before that. He was a keyboard player in Canada for a band called Ian Thomas, but he's done artwork for all kinds of other bands, Supertramp and Aerosmith and Dream Theater, and the long list of. But he's such a great music. He's a great musician, but he's able to really musically interpret something through artwork, and he's been a pal for a long time.
I had no idea he was a musician. They're all
very good one. A very good one too. Really good keyboard player. In fact, so this for anyone that doesn't know, Hugh Syme is primarily known for his album artwork, but he's a great artist. First time I met him was in the late 1970s, and I heard that the band that was playing down the street, we're playing in clubs in Canada, and the band down the street being Ian Thomas, I asked if I could come to their rehearsal. We used to rehearse at night. Most of the bands, you'd finish at 1 a.m., and then you'd rehearse, usually, come back once they cleared the club, come back on at 1:32 in the morning, rehearse for a couple hours. Well, I heard that Hugh had a Mellotron, and I'd never, he had and we were trying to get one, but they're really expensive, and I wanted to go see his Mellotron keyboard instrument,
Yep.
and of the classic rock era. And so anyway, went over to the sound check, to their rehearsal, met him, and it's probably 1978, 79, something like that. And he checking out his keyboards, etc. I said, "Yeah, this is great, man." He said, somehow the subject changed, and I said, "Did you, when did you start taking keyboards?" He said, "Well, I've never really taken that many lessons or something like that." He said, "I've been more focused on my artwork a lot of the time." I said, "Oh, you do artwork?" He goes, "Yeah, I do album covers." I said, and this is really what happened.
Wow.
It was the week where I said, I just saw a great album cover this week. It was, the band Rush, right? This is back then. I said, they got an album called A Farewell to Kings, and on the cover they got this big puppet, and he's sitting there amongst the kind of the trash on a throne. And I said, "You got to check that one out." He goes, "Yeah, I did that one." I swear to God, it just randomly. I said to him, I thought he was full of,
Right.
No, you didn't. And I said, as a test, almost. I want to feel he might. I hope he doesn't mind me revealing this. He probably doesn't. I said to him, I just as a test. I said, "Oh yeah, so where'd you get that big puppet? That's in the chair, right?"
Right.
He said, "Oh, that's our guitar player, Josh." And I look over and I'm like, "God, that's the puppet. How did you get, what'd you do?" And that's the first time I'd ever heard the term airbrush. So back then, artists would use airbrush to do magic, and he was particularly adept at it. And anyway,
That's cool. That
again,
is awesome.
another aside.
Wow, that is way cool.
So I've loved his artwork since then. He's worked on two or three of my album covers, actually. Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Well, I was gonna say there's no rush. In Chili Beach fashion.
Right.
Guests on the record. I don't, I feel funny talking about the Stola record, but
yeah.
I say there's no rush, but is there any rush? Alex?
I don't want to even talk about it.
I knew it.
When you talk about these things in advance, you kind of rub a little bit of the magic away. So I'm going to leave it alone and tell you that
it'll be
working away at little things.
It will be so magical when we do get to hear it. Don't worry about that.
I think it's right up your alley, Scott.
Yeah, I love it, man. There's a special show that you guys did, and they're all very special, but this one, it just stands out to me because there's a little bit of controversy that I deal with when there's bands that cancel shows because, something's not right or somebody's sick or not you guys, but I just saw a band, the singer had laryngitis kind of thing. But he played the show, apologized after every song. He was beating himself up about it. But the crowd had a great time. And I'm just thinking to myself, just play the show. Don't cancel the show. That's the last thing a fan wants is a cancellation. We'd rather hear an instrumental with no vocal. But you guys played a show. The power went out. I believe it was in California.
That's right.
And instead of going back to the bus and rescheduling the show, you guys pull out acoustic guitars. People light up the cell phones and lighters, and you have a campfire. That's what it's all about, right?
That night. A lot of things happened to kind of play into our hands to do that, though. It was. Okay, so it was in Carmel, California, and it looks to me, it's a theater with a high apex of a roof. So
Okay.
it had a great acoustic sound to begin with, and it holds a couple of thousand people. But um, we got about 6 songs into the show, and the power went out in the entire city. And what makes me laugh about that is that the next thing you know, where people are getting put their flashlights on their phones, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And we thought, okay, so let's do. I think we did Boat on the River or something. Tommy, I think I had my harmonium with me. Yeah, so Tommy starts on the acoustic guitar, and we got into it. And then I realized about halfway through, oh, wait a minute, downstairs they had a spinet piano, little home piano. Too bad, because it would be great if we could get that on stage. Well, all the stagehands went down a flight of stairs and lugged this 600-pound thing up
In the dark.
it out onto the stage. And it's kind of out of tune, but that became part of the whole show. Next thing you know, the candles were lit. The audience just loved it,
Oh.
and yeah, so that was a very very special occasion.
I would have given anything to be at that show. That's one you'll never forget.
No, you'll never forget that. And in fact, I'll tell you the best part of that was Todd, because we're acoustic now, he couldn't be pounding on the drums. He got a pizza box, or a couple of them, and he played brushes, and like what he was able to do with a pizza box would be the envy of probably 90% of the drummers on planet Earth who have incredible kits. Anyway, it was very amazing actually to have done that. And by the way, I agree with you about not wanting to cancel shows. Look, if you're practically unconscious, that's a different thing. But
Sure.
we've done shows where someone has been, I mean, it happens every year. There's no way we don't escape the things that plague everyone. I remember one night Tommy had absolutely no voice. A couple of nights actually over the course of these last 25 years, and either I would take the lead on the song, or we would all sing in unison. Say
Right.
two time my hands or something like that. While he was able to kind of roam in the crowd and play the guitar throughout the whole thing, and the audience again just loved it. And God, one of our residencies a couple of times ago, I'm knocking everything wood when I say this, because I don't want it to ever happen again. I got terrible laryngitis, and it was Vegas throat, they call it, right? Where you just lose everything. And right off the bat, I had no notes. I think I had maybe half of one note. And you think in your mind, people are going to be terribly let down by this. But again, another layer of the magic of a rock show, a really strong rock show, is it's the spirit that's being generated.
Absolutely.
Again, more than the individual aspects of it, the tone of the voices, the anything else. There's a spirit that kicks in, or it doesn't. And with Styx, I have to say, every night that is kind of present on stage, and you come off thinking, boy, because the show went over just as well as it ever would, and you come off thinking there's something bigger than me and my abilities,
Right.
that is really being absorbed by the audience out there. And we really it's again, fortunately, I think a canceled show is a really horrible thing. I think in my whole life, I think we've only ever done, I think I did one as a solo artist, and I think Styx only did one as well.
Yeah.
We had to do for, I think it was travel, or remember. No, we've only ever postponed them. That's really it. We've postponed them, never canceled.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's, you get laryngitis and you can't sing. How cool would it be to hear, like JY sing "Come Sail Away" or something?
Yeah.
Even if he screws it up, it doesn't matter.
Las Vegas, I would go into it, go into the top of the song, and just as I'm about to go, Tommy came out, grabbed my handheld mic, and he stood beside me and just sang the first verse. And yeah, exactly.
That's so memorable.
This is
You know,
great.
every fan wants to hear that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean,
I
that's
enjoy hearing it.
yeah, I mean, that's a version you don't ever get, you won't ever hear. So, you know, make it, instead of being down and canceling the show and being upset,
Yeah.
make it fun. Make it, you know, well, that's
Yeah.
all we want. You know, the fans just want to have fun when they come to a show. It's
If it's possible to do, just do it if it's
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there are circumstances under which I'm not.
sure,
I can't.
sure. But you know, when the lights go out, was there any consideration of, you know, calling it a day and going to the bus? You know, I mean, that would be, I would think that would be the first thing. Oh, well, we lost power. That's the end of that.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
that was our first thought, but then
sure.
the next thing you know, you're thinking, um, you know what? It happened right in the middle of fooling yourself, and I think that's what happened was we stopped, and
Yeah,
then we realized, oh, let's just finish it off anyway,
right.
And
It's
when we finished it
acoustic.
off, the audience dug it, and we were like, "Do you want us to keep, do you want us to keep going?" And it was like kind of thing, right? It's kind of a Rudy Valley situation, and yeah, they were like, "Yeah, yeah, keep going."
Of
And
course.
then we started playing. We did the entire show.
So great. So great. The Crystal Ball, long lost verse. I think we
Yeah,
talked about this last time too. Any discussion about making that studio recording of that?
I think it has been discussed. Um,
Would love to hear that. You know,
yeah, yeah, I think that would be great.
it's
I think it's been discussed, but it's also a great treat when people get to hear that live.
totally,
It's
yeah.
extra.
I love it. Because you know, we know the song. I mean, I know
Yeah,
the song since I was a little
yeah, me
kid.
too.
And to hear an extra verse, and it's such a great
Yeah,
verse too.
yeah,
Uh,
it fits
it's
perfectly.
really, really cool. And yeah, I'd love to throw that on every day.
We'll bring that up at the next PTA meeting.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey Lawrence, I gotta kind of wind it up.
Wind it up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm talking to Howard Jones in a few minutes, actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever had interaction with Howard?
I've never met him. I will say this: I saw him in the Ringo All Star Band, and I'm always, I get whenever I get a chance to go and see uh,
Yeah,
Ringo. Obviously, I do it because I
of course.
people that don't know, I got to meet him many, many times because I made an album in his house while he was living there in England and at Tittenhurst Park. But anyway, I saw Howard Jones with him in just north of Toronto, and man, was he ever great! I knew he was really strong, but he was such a great keyboard player, and he had to play some members. Greg Lake was in the band, and so
Ah,
Jones had to do some of the Keith Emerson stuff. He played it perfectly, sounded great. I was really enamored with him, and kind of regretted the fact that I've never had a chance to see one of his shows because we've been too many of our own.
I
And
was gonna say, I
usually about 2 shows a year is what I get to see.
okay.
So last
Wow.
year I got to see last year, or was it 2021? Shit. Last year I got to see Genesis and Sparks.
Oh,
And
nice. Sparks. Wow.
pandemic, yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
And pandemic, I saw Elton John, and
Yes.
the concert I saw. Oh, it was a metal show that I went to with my son.
Cool. Yeah. Now, Dylan, you know, he's a drummer. He is a
Great
drummer.
drummer. Yeah, he's
He
great.
is.
He
Yeah.
plays with me in my solo band now because Todd is he's so busy. I mean, but at the same time, Todd and I both knew at a certain point I really want Dylan to play the show, so he's been doing my solo shows for the last couple of years. Well, he had the greatest teacher in Todd throughout his life. When
I,
he met him, he was like 7 years old, 5 or 6 years old maybe, and immediately I could see, far more enamored with the drums and anything that I'm playing, and I'm kind of a
well,
hero to him at a young age, and then even now.
I've heard him say that his sister wanted him to be a drummer because there was no drummers in the family. That's the story I hear.
That's a good story. I like that story. I usually say his sister, by the way, is a doctor, and I like to say to whenever I get a chance to squeeze that into a conversation, I say I can't believe that my daughter is a doctor, but it's not all bad news because our son is a drummer.
That's right. It's a beautiful thing, man. And everyone's well. I hope everyone's doing well.
Everyone's great. Everyone's really, really great. I mean, it's been tough with some of the family things that have happened with the band with JY and
Sure.
Ricky and Will and those things that like I say, that makes it tougher to kind of stay on the beam, but everyone really has.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone's fine, Scott. Thank you, and I hope you guys are too.
Yes, we are. We are. We're doing well, and we miss you something fierce. But you're coming around. You're gonna be through the Midwest here.
We'll
So
see you soon.
yeah, we'll definitely see you. It's been too long for sure.
I know George is going to knock on that door any minute. And he's going to want
Yep.
my. So I'm going to have to. All right.
All right.
Great to talk to you.
Lawrence. Thank you.
All the best. You too,
Take
Scott.
care. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye now.